Countdown to Restoration with me, your host, Danny Thompson, and we are officially on episode 19, although my producer will not keep up with that. I must fire me. Anyway, who am me? Who am I? I am Danny Thompson, as previously stated. And we are glad to have you with us on Countdown to Restoration as we count down the waning days of the Biden regime. So, if you have any questions, leave a comment. We will get back to you. All right, we're going to move quickly because we have so much to do today. The poster child for the Biden regime, Dr. Rachel Levine, Assistant Secretary to the Health and Human Services Department, I believe. And we'll leave it there. Tells you everything you need to know. This also tells you everything, especially here in Texas and across the Southeast and soon to be the Northeast and every place else where it says it's a dark winter, and that's just not the weather, ladies and gentlemen. But here we are anyway. Remember, Market Watch, February 20th. This is the 16th, so actually I guess it would have to be 17, 18, 19. I guess it'd have to be Friday or something. Anyway, Market Watch. Let's keep an eye on. Yeah, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, so anyway, something coming up. Guess I should have checked that more better, as my grandmother used to like to say, even though she was an English teacher and had been an English teacher and spoke very correctly, but she liked that one more better. I don't know why. All right, the White House over the weekend announced that they will, with the Parkland shooting, announced that they will start taking actions. And they want actions taken. The anniversary of the Parkland school shooting, 3 years ago. Excuse me. So the administration, they released this statement by the pretend president, you know what we're going to do, the thief in chief. Yeah, he's there. The thief in chief. Yeah, he loves it. Thief in chief. Yeah, every time he can't stop. He can't stop, ladies and gentlemen. It's just his favorite. Anyway, so the thief in chief issued this statement. I'm sure he spent hours trying to write it. The administration will not wait for the next mass shooting to heed the call. We will take action to end our epidemic of gun violence and make our schools and communities safe. Today, I am calling on Congress to enact common sense gun law reforms, including requiring background checks on all gun sales, banning assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, and eliminating immunity for gun manufacturers who knowingly excuse me, how could you unknowingly do this? Who knowingly put weapons of war on our streets. We owe it to all those we've lost and all those left behind to grieve and make a change. The time to act is now. Well, he called on Congress, but as we will find in today's press conference, let's see, gun control is number one. Is this one? They have some questions on it. Well, let's see.
The pandemic.
I want to ask you about the president's ambitions in terms of getting Congress to pass gun control measures. In a statement you issued over the weekend, the president said the time for action is now. You're asking Congress to do a lot of things now. What is your timetable for action on what the president calls common sense measures, and what's the realistic hope that you have that they'll pass both houses?
Well, we haven't proposed a package at this point, so it's hard for me to make a prediction about its likelihood of passing. But I will say that the president is somebody throughout his career who has advocated for smart gun safety measures. He has not afraid of standing up to the NRA. He's done it multiple times and won on background checks and a range of issues. And it is a priority to him on a personal level. But I don't have a prediction for you or a preview for you on a timeline of a package, and certainly not what it would look like and how it would go through Congress.
One more question.
All right, but we have another question on gun control, because this one really gets kind of to the heart of the matter. If we can get it up big here. Take it away, Jen.
Just following up on his question, does the president still plan to take executive action on gun violence?
The president has a range of actions at his disposal. I think you were asking, Steve, about a legislative package, which I know, but he hasn't ruled out either of those options, of course, but I don't have anything to announce for you in terms of what the next steps would be.
We know, but we're not going to tell you. First of all, he said the time is now, but there's not even a package. See, it's just talk. Everything's just talk to make people think they're doing something, and they're going to do something, and most of it will not be legislative because there's still a lot of things Congress isn't going to do. So anyway, that on gun control, it's looming. You were warned. You were told. But, oh yeah, didn't matter how we voted because we won when we voted. Yeah. Didn't matter at all because they did what? Yeah, they stole the election. Yesterday's show, we went over this document. We highlighted it, of course. But you can go to seculardems.org, and this will explain to you the guiding principles behind this horrible regime. And of course, their goal is restoring constitutional secularism and patriotic pluralism in the White House, which over the weekend, they also announced that they were opening back the faith-based initiative council on faith-based initiatives, whatever it's called, but they're not calling it that. And it's not just about faith-based. And now it's a partnership office. And the goal is to strengthen pluralism and respect constitutional guarantees, not of freedom, but of separation of church and state. In other words, in their view, keeping religion out of the government, which is what seculardems.org is all about, and even more. Key commitment of the Partnerships Office is embracing pluralism. At its best, the United States is not only a country with remarkable peace across our religious differences, it is a nation where people of diverse faiths and beliefs regularly make common cause. Yeah, well, but it's just their intentions, because people, well, we do when we come. Yes, we can come together, but that's not what they're wanting. What are they wanting? Fundamental to these goals is respecting our cherished guarantee of church-state separation and freedom for people of all faiths and none, as the executive order notes. I mean, you go back and read seculardems.org. This is right out of their playbook. The Partnership Office, for example, will not prefer one faith over another or favor religious over secular organizations. Instead, it will work with every willing partner to promote the common good, including those who have differences with the administration. Okay, well, that would be a lot of people. President Biden has repeatedly said he will be president for all Americans. In addition to advancing collaborative efforts to serve people in need, the White House Partnership Office will also develop and coordinate the administration's policy agenda regarding faith-based and other community organizations. See? It's happening. You know, we keep telling you it's happening, and it's going to happen. And, you got to call, make your voice known. Let your Congress people make it known. Now, this also, they want to get into schools, and we showed you this briefly on yesterday's program, but today we're going to go through it a little bit, and if that means that we don't have time for everything else, then all right, sorry about that. Those two. Okay, that's good. San Francisco sues schools citing high number of suicidal students. Why does this matter when it comes to national news? When it comes to chronicling the White House? Well, the White House has been asked numerous questions on what they require for success in school opening, and it's over 50% of schools open within 100 days or at 100 days with 1 day a week in-person instruction. Now, you and I know that's stupid, but they're giving in to teacher unions, which is the problem in San Francisco. And so San Francisco city attorney, whom you know just by being the city attorney in San Francisco, is suing the school district. The number of suicidal children in San Francisco has hit a record high, and health experts say it is clear that keeping public schools closed is catalyzing a mental health crisis among school-aged children, according to a lawsuit the city filed Thursday to push its school district to reopen classrooms. San Francisco City Attorney Dennis Herrera announced last week he was taking the dramatic step of suing the city's own school district, which has kept its classrooms closed nearly a year. In the motion filed Thursday in San Francisco Superior Court, Herrera included alarming testimony from hospitals in the San Francisco Bay Area, doctors and parents on the emotional and mental harms of extended distance learning. So this is not just something open. I mean, they're looking into it, and they want some help. Their kids are in trouble. This is crisis. One mother, Allison Aref, said she had recently found her 15-year-old daughter curled up in a fetal position, crying next to her laptop at 11 a.m. Aref said her daughter often cries in the middle of the day out of frustration and is losing faith not just in San Francisco United School District, but in the world. I mean, this sounds like a young girl in crisis. It's just really, really sad. Another mother, Lindsay Sink, has seen a major regression in her 7-year-old son who has uncomfortable meltdowns that turn the whole house upside down. Sink's 10-year-old daughter is experiencing depression and anger, and she fears her daughter's mental health will continue to suffer until in-person learning resumes. UCSF, Banoff Children's Hospital, has seen a 66% increase in the number of suicidal children in the emergency room and a 75% increase in youth who required hospitalization for mental health services. The lawsuit said, quoting pediatricians, child psychiatrists, and emergency room doctors. All right, so this is not just we want schools open, parents are tired of messing around with these kids, is it? Is that just what yeah, here we go. Last month, UCSF Children's Emergency Department at Mission Bay reported record high numbers of suicidal children seen and treated according to the legal filing, which did not provide detailed numbers of cases and hospital visits. It also quoted doctors citing an increase in anxiety, depression, and eating disorders among children consistent with national data. So it's not just happening there, it's happening all over. The medical evidence is clear that keeping public schools closed is catalyzing a mental health crisis among school-aged children in San Francisco. Dr. Jean Noble, Director of COVID Response for the UCSF Emergency Department. San Francisco's 52,000 public school students have been out of classes since March. Public health officials have allowed city schools to reopen since September, but the districts and teachers unions have not. As we continue, the district and teachers unions, and it's not even the district. It is mainly the unions. The teachers and the district and teachers unions have not been able to finalize a deal on reopening classrooms. The unions are holding out, and the Biden administration will not come down on them. They will not do it. Why? Because they want their votes, and they help, if it wasn't for them helping with the voting and the cheating, the Biden regime wouldn't even be in. We wholeheartedly agree that students are better served with in-person learning, the school district spokeswoman Laura Dudnick said Thursday, and it should be spokesperson. San Francisco should know that. Bringing students back to school in a large public school district is very complex and requires partnership. Well, Texas did it. Florida did it. Lots of places have did it. Some schools never put out. The CDC says it's safe. There are still no reported cases, no reported instances of students transferring the virus to adults in school settings. We are eager for the city to make vaccines available to our staff, Dudnick said. Of course, when I think it was Alabama, when a clinic made vaccines available to teachers just to vaccinate all teachers, they got their supplies taken away from them because you got to fit certain agendas to get the vaccine in many places. Why? Equity. The lawsuit is the first of its kind in California and possibly the country as school systems come under increasing pressure from parents and politicians to end virtual learning. It has prompted discussion in other cities, including Los Angeles, where a city councilman is urging similar legal action to force schools open. The lawsuit highlights the growing tension and infighting nationwide. You know, geez, we're going to go by science. No, we're not. We're going to go by unions. We're going to go by unions, aren't we? Yeah. I think this is where we are. Oh, not me, this. Thank you. The lawsuit highlights the growing tension and infighting nationwide between politicians who insist it is safe to return to schools and scientists with proper safety precautions and teachers who are on the front lines and have not been able to get vaccinated yet. Just vaccinate them. Be smart and vaccinate them. They don't want vaccination. They want to keep staying home, teaching school in their jammies. They don't want vaccination. I mean, are these people going out to shop? I mean, let's get tough on them. Why are we allowing this? That's we've already done all that. Let's come on, get to some fresh stuff. I think right here. Those in favor of reopening classrooms cite scientific data, including from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, showing schools have reopened safely if proper safety precautions are in place, such as mask, physical distancing, and intensive cleaning. The lawsuit notes that 14 of San Francisco's private, parochial, and charter schools, 114, have reopened to 15,831 schools and some 2,400 staff. Those schools have had fewer than 5 cases of suspected in-person transmission, it says. Thursday's motion expands upon previous allegations that school officials have failed to create a specific plan for reopening as required by state law. Distance learning is a form of instruction. It is not school. It is not school. And so there you see. See, people think, well, that has, that's just COVID. No, that's unions, and they need to be dealt with. But the Biden administration isn't going to do that because everything they are about except shutting down pipelines is about unions. It's just, hey, union people, you're just going to have to learn. You don't count when it comes to those jobs, probably because they didn't. Pipeline workers may not vote for Biden, huh? Distance learning is a form of instruction, is not school, the lawsuit says, arguing that a child's education goes beyond academic subjects and extends to a wide variety of emotional, social, and developmental skills that can only be learned in person. Keeping kids out of schools constitutes a substantial violation of their constitutional rights. I don't know which ones that would be, but I'm sure there's got to be something. But it is harming the kids. And what do we hear from? Oh, kids, kids, kids. Everything's about kids. It's either killing kids one way or another, because this is killing kids. This is killing kids. And if you want to declare a national emergency, declare that one. We're opening schools. We want every school district to get open, or we're going to pull your funding. That's all you got to do. Say if you're not open by the end of this month, you're not getting any more federal funds for distance learning, which is killing kids. But no, see, it's not about reality. It's not about science. It's not about right and wrong. It's about politics, ladies and gentlemen. And they can say all they want. We're going by the science. They're going by the votes and the support, just like almost every other political machine. Yes, I would get more passionate about it, but I haven't the time today. And this we will go, because this is going to start happening all over. Woke state aims to eliminate Holocaust, World War I, World War II, and American Revolution history from K through 12 curriculum. Well, what state could that be? Well, how about the lovely state of Minnesota? Yes, children will be drilled in how identity is a function of skin color, and by high school, students will be taught how the Europeans invented whiteness and that America's 19th century westward expansion was the shameful product of whiteness, Christianity, and capitalism. That's what your kids are going to be taught in the lovely snowy state of Minnesota. Yes, Minnesota intends to reinvent the way it teaches social studies. Oh, doesn't that just make you sick? Plan is no longer to teach anything, I guess, just social stuff. All right, according to an opinion piece in the Minnesota Star Tribune, first graders would learn to recognize stereotypes, biased speech, and injustice at the institutional or systemic level. You know, by middle school, they'll be experts in it. I don't know if we have the next slide or not. Let's see. It's just sick. So, just additional importance will include gaining better knowledge of I've got to look these people up, to be honest. Anishinaabe tribes, I guess it's Indian tribes in Minnesota, as well as the civil rights struggle of the LGBTQ people. The newly proposed standards would also closely link the activity of humans with climate change. And see, school districts all over the country update their curriculum all the time, and this is what many of them will be going to. You need to check. You need to call and tell your school board, we're not doing it. Take your kid out. I mean, some of us are going to have to, make the sacrifice and get our kids in different schools. You're just going to have to bankrupt the public school system, or it's going to bankrupt us. But anyway, what else are we doing today? Is that right, Joe? Do you need to get your kids out of the public school system? Oh, yeah. Is that a nod? Oh, yeah. Joe thinks so, too. Is it disgraceful, Joe? Yeah. Listen to Joe. Joe knows, right? Joe knows. All right. So now, what are we going to do? We are going to look at some more press conference, because we have some exciting issues. And where are we going next? Let's see. We did the gun control. That was this one and that one. Let's do some foreign policy. All right? Let's do some foreign policy. You may or may not have heard there was some trouble in Iraq. Let's hear.
There was a rocket attack in Iraq yesterday, and Iraqi officials have said that the group that took responsibility for that attack has ties to Iran. My question is, one, whether you've made that determination as well, and two, what kind of retaliation would be considered?
Sure. Appreciate the question. We're still working through attribution with our Iraqi partners to determine precise attribution for this attack. Obviously, that's a priority. I will convey that we are outraged by last night's rocket attack in the Iraqi Kurdistan region. Initial reports indicate that the attacks killed one civilian contractor and injured several members of the coalition, including one American service member and several American contractors. And we offer our condolences to the loved ones of the civilian contractor killed. The Iraqi people have certainly suffered for far too long from this kind of violence and violation of their sovereignty. I will also note, and I think the State Department provided this update, but just for all of you, Secretary Blinken has reached out to the Kurdistan Regional Government Prime Minister Barzani, and Secretary Austin is speaking with his counterpart to offer assistance with the investigation and to help hold accountable those responsible for this attack. But we have not determined attribution at this point.
Do you expect that there would be retaliation once that declaration is made?
Well, as always, the President of the United States and the administration reserves the right to respond in the time and the manner of our choosing, but we'll wait for the attribution to be concluded first before we take any additional steps or obviously have any additional announcements. I will convey to you that obviously diplomacy is a priority with this administration and something that is front and center to our engagement with our global partners around the world. And certainly these calls are evidence of that, but that will always be a part of our strategy as well.
All right, so what are we learning from this? First of all, Iraq says, hey, this was from Iran. And we're saying, well, we're still trying to learn. We want to know who, we haven't determined attributable, whatever she's saying. It's a new word of the day. Attributive. Everybody say it. Attributive. But anyway, we don't believe them that it was Iran. We're not sure. We're going to have a real hard time pinning this on Iran, but we're outraged. We are outraged. That's why I led off the press conference with it. No, I didn't, did I? No, we're outraged over this, and our heart goes out. It was like ready. It's a prepared statement. They knew the question would come up. Why didn't she just start? I want to tell you that the administration is outraged. I realize State said some things, but come on, there's no outrage. And then she makes sure to point out after the reporter asked again about retaliation because we were attacked, ladies and gentlemen. This just wasn't a casual rocket fired, at civilians. This was at us. Service members were harmed. Oh, well, just so you know, diplomacy is a big part of our administration. That's what we're going to go by, is diplomacy. Why don't you just send out invitations for people to what? To launch rockets at us, to attack us, because we're going to talk to you. Now, in all fairness, having anybody from this administration call you up on the phone would have to be just torturous, wouldn't you think? Matter of fact, here's a question. How come Kamala Harris had to call the president of France? Where's our president? Oh, he's got to fly to Milwaukee later, so we don't know what he's doing today. He's going to be hanging around here or there, but, he might make some phone calls, call some govs, I don't know. But Ms. Harris had to call the president of France. Why? Why would the vice president call a major European ally? Well, hey, especially after a 3-day weekend. Well, let's wonder, who's the president? Who's the pretend president? Oh yeah, Joseph Biden. Biden's hiding because he ain't doing so good. Anyway, but sorry, I got off the subject. Negotiations. Negotiations gonna be our life, just like it was under Obama. Yeah, diplomacy. We're going to diplomacy people when they attacked us. We are coming with the diplomacy. Diplomacy's on the way. Everybody can rest assured. Yeah, diplomacy with the Taliban means what? Taliban is creeping ever closer to Afghan cities. Yeah, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, it's all a mess. It's going to stay a mess. diplomacy. You launch a rocket at us, and we're going to launch an envoy towards you. I don't know. Maybe it'll work, huh? Anyway, doesn't it sound good? Well, we have some more foreign policy. To clarify, when she was asked last week if we still considered Israel and Saudi Arabia our allies, and she said it was under review. And she kind of skirts around it. Why does she skirt around it, ladies and gentlemen? Well, that's because, I don't know if we can get both of them up at the same time. That's because she is a professional. Yeah, she is a professional liar, ladies and gentlemen. We do not deny it. I don't think she would deny it. She would just say, well, I don't really lie. I skirt around the issues. But she tries to make it sound different, and let's see how this goes.
Question for you. The colleague who sat in this chair last week asked you a question about whether this administration sees Saudi Arabia or Israel as allies for the United States. Your answer was interpreted by some as something other than yes, so I want to give you an opportunity to answer that question more directly now.
Well, first let me say on Israel, I know there's been some questions about when the president will speak with Prime Minister Netanyahu, which was, I think, the root of that question, or how the question started. So let me first confirm for you that his first call with a leader in the region will be with Prime Minister Netanyahu. It will be soon. I don't have an exact date for you, but it is soon. Stay tuned. Israel is, of course, an ally. Israel is a country where we have an important strategic security relationship, and our team is fully engaged, not at the head of state level quite yet, but very soon. But our team is fully engaged, having constant conversations at many levels with the Israelis. And on Saudi Arabia, I would say, we've made clear from the beginning that we're going to recalibrate our relationship with Saudi Arabia, and that President Biden, and one of the questions there was also, just to go back to the context of it, whether he would be speaking with MBS. And part of that is going back to engagement counterpart to counterpart. The president's counterpart is King Salman, and I expect at an appropriate time he would have a conversation with him. I don't have a prediction of the timeline on that, but I'll also say that we have Saudi Arabia is in a position where they are defending themselves from threats from the region. They have critical self-defense needs, and we will continue to work with them on those, even as we make clear areas where we have disagreements and where we have concerns. And that's certainly a shift from the approach of the prior administration. Okay, go ahead.
Just following up.
Does anybody understand what she said about Saudi Arabia? Are they an ally or not? Or no? Or what? And what are you even talking about? Oh, he would speak with his counterpart, who, of course, is the king, and this would do that, and that would do that, and we'd be along with this and that. What is the woman talking about? She's talking about nothing, because she doesn't have an answer except to say, right now, Saudi Arabia is not one of our allies, which is a mistake. You may not like Saudi Arabia. You may not agree with them. Not all allies are people we like, but they are people and countries that we need. There's a huge difference between foreign policy and domestic policy. Domestic policy, as we know, is based completely on getting votes. Foreign policy is supposed to be based on U.S. interests in keeping us alive. Yes, but it's not. It's not. Soon. We will talk soon with the president of Israel, Israel is an ally. Oh, yes, Israel's an ally now. They're getting some blowback on this, ladies and gentlemen. Their foreign policy is about one thing. It's not even about diplomacy. It's about lining the pockets of the Biden regime and all those people behind it and everything else. It's a policy for hire. And right now, Saudi Arabia isn't where the money is. Israel's not where the money is. And how are they doing this? By spending your tax dollars to enrich themselves, to get in with some countries so they can make money on other countries, such as we told you, the pipeline going across Afghanistan. This is very serious, but nobody in Congress is going to look into it. No one in the world is going to care except the people who are negatively affected by it, which should be us because we're negatively affected by this. Now, again, you got to call. You got to make your voices known. You got to cry out and say, God, I know you're going to get us out of this, but get us out of this. These people are dangerous. They said Trump was dangerous. President Trump was dangerous. What did President Trump do that was bad? How did President Trump deal with the Saudis that was bad? That was different than, most other administrations. We've got some real problems here, ladies and gentlemen, and they're not just going to go away. They're not, and diplomacy is not going to solve them. Well, we move on. What are we moving on to? Yes, let's do this tweet to set up the next one. This is to let you know, because this will be brought up, Title 10, and it's Title X. If you look up Title 10, you'll get something about the military. Title X Family Planning Program received $286 million per year. All right. From the start, Title 10 funds could not be used to support abortion. Nevertheless, in 2019, the regulations were revised, making it harder for clinics that refer women to an abortion provider to receive Title 10 funds. Because if money's not supposed to go for abortion, then it shouldn't go to recommend an abortion. And of course, a lot of these clinics are just fronts. Sometimes they're not even separated by a block. Sometimes it's the front door and the back door. They'll walk you around to the back door for the abortion. And so under the Trump administration, the rightful administration, they said, no, you can't even recommend abortions. Now, the country's gone through that before. And what has been the result this time? Fewer abortions, abortion clinics closing. What does that do to the Biden regime? It angers them. If you go through the seculardems.org document, you will find abortion's very important to them. They want this kind of thing stopped where people can't recommend it, where crisis pregnancy centers that don't deal in abortion aren't even funded any longer, and things such as that. They love abortion. Their lives are about abortion. They are godless child killers. And I'm not talking about women who may be confused, women who may be going through difficult times. I'm talking about the people in policy positions, people who actually do the job. They're heartless baby killers. They're evil. And nothing they say is going to change that. All right? In January 2021, U.S. President Joe Biden signed a presidential memorandum which called for the repeal of Trump's Title 10, which makes it harder. So already, U.S. money, your taxpayer dollars, are going to help recommend people to an abortion clinic. But let's listen to this. Let's watch and listen to this exchange, and you can tell everything about their attitude and about the way they think from this. This will tell you this is the Biden regime.
Right in the back.
Good afternoon. Owen Jensen, EWTN, Global Catholic Network. So regarding the American Rescue Plan, groups like pro-life groups, including the Susan B. Anthony list, very concerned that millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars will go to the abortion industry in violation of the Hyde Amendment. We know where President Biden stands on the Hyde Amendment, but that being said, can this administration right now guarantee, if the American Rescue Plan is passed, that no taxpayer dollars will go to the abortion industry?
Which component of the American Rescue Plan are you referring to?
I pull it up right here. A $50 million funding increase for the Title 10 program. $750 million for global health activities, and billions in funding for community health centers without applying the Hyde Amendment.
Well, the president's view on the Hyde Amendment is well known, as you have stated in your question. He also believes that community health centers are a key part of addressing the pandemic, of ensuring that people in communities have access to vaccines, have access to treatment and information about making sure they're healthy and their loved ones are healthy. So that remains a priority to the president. He's shared his view on the Hyde Amendment. I don't think I have anything new for you.
To follow up on that, can he guarantee Americans who don't want their tax dollars, pro-life Americans who don't want their tax dollars, funding abortion? Can the administration guarantee those tax dollars won't fund abortion?
I think, Owen, as I've just noted, 3/4 of the public supports the components of the package, wants to see the pandemic get under control, wants to see people put back to work, vaccines and arms. So I think that answers your question. Okay, we're going to move on. Go ahead in the back.
Wow. Jen. You know, it's serious though, ladies and gentlemen. You know, she gives all kinds of time to everything else. She did not like the question. She doesn't want to answer it. Why couldn't she just say, no, we're not going to do that? The Hyde Amendment, I should have had a slide on that. The Hyde Amendment is a law that says we don't spend federal funds on abortions. And supposedly, Joseph Biden, he believes in that, but not really all the way. It could be looked at, etc., etc. Why? Because abortion is one of their main tenets of faith. And of course, that poor reporter doesn't know he's now on a list. He'll probably be designated a domestic terrorist by morning. And you say, oh, that's not. No, it's true, because now he's a right-winger, ladies and gentlemen. He is part of a right-wing religious organization, and he was white. Read seculardems.org and their plan for the country. It's not just theirs. I'm telling you. The people that are really in charge, including the people they have running everything, are horrible, etc. to infinity people. They're horrible. And the one thing they can't stand, unless it's one of the swollen pregnant bellies of one of their own, is pregnant women, because that means one of us lowlifes is going to have another child. God help us. God help them. God help them. God help our children. Which leads us to our last and final segment of the day, exclusive God formation. And of course, almost forgot our fireworks. Hadn't had it in a few days. Where are they? There they are. Yes, God formation, inside information that you can only get, for the most part, here. And so far we are batting pretty good average. Some things it takes a while to come to pass. These are not always things that will come to pass the next day. I told you a while back there's going to be a sacrifice of somebody in the administration that came through the deputy press secretary. Is his name T.J. Duckworth? I can't remember his name. I thought I would remember it, but I forgot it. But, you know, he was put on a week's administrative leave without pay, and then he resigned over the weekend, I'm sure under pressure. They had to get rid of somebody to put focus on him or her. There will be others coming as they try to lighten the load. Speaking of lightening the load, in our inside information today, if I can find the first of it, charge. Where is it? I have more. I may have to skip the first one. It was more on thought, I think. Oh. Okay, we'll go here. I lost that. Anyway, the news from Israel stuns and infuriates. So there's some news that has come out of Israel concerning their attitudes, etc., and some of the things they're doing. It is not making the administration happy. Jen is angry. She lost a friend. She knows now there are no places to hide. People will be thrown over. She didn't want this. It wasn't wasn't the level that she thought it should be. And they stepped over her and said, no, somebody's got to go, and it's from your department. Jen said she didn't look happy today. She's not happy. The chief of staff is starting to have issues over control. So much is just, not what he wanted. Susan Rice has the power. The Biden people knew He was a puppet, but they thought they would have power, but it is others that are ruling. And so he is very angry. He's very moody, and he's just not a happy camper because, man, you may be the puppet master in the campaign, but we're taking over now. See, Susan Rice has made some strong appearances. The lack of impeachment has unnerved the whole group. I mean, they knew it wasn't going to happen. They really were hoping. And why didn't the Dems call witnesses? Here we have it. There is a key witness that troubles them. That is why witnesses were not called. And don't trust Ted Cruz in any of this. He's a senator from Texas. I'm from Texas. Ted Cruz, like most politicians, are playing many sides on this. They are an insider, and too many people know their identity. So one of the key witnesses was a plant. Every level of deception is based on another, so every level threatens the lower and the upper level. And they just, you don't know which one's going to fall first. But one of their key witnesses was a plant. They didn't know how to call witnesses without calling this person, and they were afraid somebody was going to recognize them. That's the reason. All right, don't believe me. The meds that pretend President Biden is on for his sickness, bless his heart, but you know what he's getting into? He's a liar and a thief too. Is affecting Joe's body in some unhealthy ways. He is having a few side effects, nausea and diarrhea. It hits at any given time, unpredictable, very miserable for him, for you. Nothing, it's not hurting you, is it? Well, it is, because why did Ms. Harris have a call with the president of France? Shouldn't he have done that? And nobody asked that question. Nobody said, how come the vice president made the phone call to the president of France? Well, maybe we'll get an answer on that tomorrow. Maybe not, as we continue to chronicle the downfall of the horrible, horrible, horrible Biden regime. And look at what all these political issues are doing to our kids, doing to our economy, doing to our standing abroad, many soldiers were wounded from that rocket attack. They're horribly outraged, but we depend on diplomacy. Pray for our nation. Pray that God would help us through this. This isn't what we voted for. This is what was foisted upon us. Pray God will hear. He'll answer. We'll see you tomorrow, as far as we know right now, as we continue chronicling, which is a horrible job to do, but obviously somebody's got to do it. Chronicling the countdown to restoration. We will see you tomorrow. God bless you. God bless America.